Welcome. I'm Gretchen Oller-Hogg of Lighten Up and Thrive Joyful Living for Mind, Body, and Soul. Dr. Jerry Eddington and I would like to welcome you to this module called Money Wellness, How to Have a Healthy Perspective on Earning, Saving, and Spending Your Money. Now, you might be doing this as a standalone module or as part of our Lighting Your Fire Home Study series, which included the Lighting Your Fire, Financial Calm, and this is the third one on Money Wellness, and then the fourth one, which will be the A to Z's of Success. So just a little bit about me. I'm a mind, body, soul coach, a hypnotherapist, an aromatherapist, an educator, and a catalyst for change. And my commitment to you is to assist you to lighten up and thrive and co-create a joy-filled life aligned with your divine purpose. And Dr. Jerry Eddington also is a soul success coach, an educator, a mediator, an energy healer, and a facilitator of change. And her commitment to you is to assist you in co-creating the life that you are meant to live so that you can lighten up and thrive. So today in this Money Wellness program, the learning outcomes that we have outlined for you on slide number 5, getting the pulse on your current financial situation to gain clarity on your financial future, understanding and clearing your roadblocks to a healthier financial future as well. So we're going to explore 3 key steps necessary for effectively managing your money. And while I'm reviewing what we're going to cover, I'd like you just to take a moment to also grab one of your paper bills. It doesn't matter whether it's a dollar bill or a $5 bill or a $10 bill, 20, whatever, or whatever your currency is, because we are going to use this in an activity in a short bit, and you also might want to grab a calculator. So again, today we're going to cover getting the pulse on your current financial situation, how your money comes and goes in your life, and also clarifying your financial future and how you would like your money to be working for you today and tomorrow and in the future. And also identifying what's currently getting in the way of you reaching a healthier financial future. So let's begin our discovery. So let's talk a little bit about money. It's such an important part of life. We all need it for the essentials of life, to eat, to buy clothing, to have a place to live. It also plays an important part in our future plans. We all have dreams we want to fulfill, and money is probably going to be needed in order to make those dreams come true. But many of us also face big problems with money. We never seem to have enough of it. Maybe the checking account is close to zero and the next paycheck isn't coming for another week. Of course, several bills are also due at the same time, right? It looks like we'll have to rob from Peter to pay Paul again. Why is it so difficult to make ends meet from month to month? Why does there never seem to be enough money to cover our needs and wants? Well, part of the reason financial health eludes so many of us is that we don't pay attention to it. We think we do, but in reality we don't, or at least we don't pay enough attention to it. Let me show you what I mean. So this is an activity that I like to just call as what's on a bill. What is on a currency? A dollar bill, a $5 bill, whatever that is. So you'll notice on slide number 7, there's a blank screen there, and there's a blank screen for a reason. Because I just want to test your knowledge around something that is very familiar to us, and that's your paper currencies. So please get one of your paper currencies for this exercise, because I'm going to ask you some questions about it. But I don't want you to be looking at it yet. I just want you to grab it, have it ready, And don't peek at it. Just put it down, kind of hide it, tuck it away. And I'm going to ask you a few questions about whatever bill that you picked up, whatever your currency is. So, on the front side of the bill, I want to ask you, how many times is the value printed on the front? Again, how many times is the value printed on the front? Is the value numerical or is it spelled out? Is there a person or a building on this currency? And if so, what or who is it? Also, if it's a person or a building, what direction is it facing? And also, what is the color of your currency? And is there a motto or a phrase on it? And if so, what is that? Now, I'd like you to take a look at your currency now for 30 seconds. Just take a quick look for 30 seconds. Okay, now put it down, and I'd like you to hide it again. And I want to ask you again these questions. How many times is the value printed on the front? Is the value numerical or spelled out? Is there a person or a building? And if so, what is it? What direction is it facing? What's the color of your currency? And is there a motto or a phrase? And if so, what is it? See how well you can do the second time. And this is just for you, just some self-awareness. There's no quiz on it. But anyway, just how did you do? Be honest with yourself. How did you do? Let's look at the next slide. And this is a slide of a piggy bank on slide number 10. So let's look at this piggy bank, and we're going to just talk about some other key points, because familiarity often breeds mindlessness. We end up becoming mindless, unaware, and take for granted those things that are commonplace in our lives. And this definitely holds true for money. It's there, we spend it, but at the same time, we become unaware of how we use it, just like we become unaware of what's actually printed on our common currency that we use every single day. And because we don't give our money the attention it deserves, understanding how much we make, how much we spend and save and owe, we end up living a great deal of financial anxiety and stress. We end up living with a tremendous amount of anxiety and stress around this. So the good news is that we can do something about this situation. We can take charge of our money by growing our awareness around how we make it and how we spend it. This alone can make our money wellness much healthier than it currently is. So, just as you would take charge of your health by deciding to, say, exercise more or to eat right, your money wellness can also improve by making a few simple changes to the way that you regard your money. And this is important. We want to make this simple little steps and measures that you can make in your life so that you'll actually do it. So, over the course of this module, we're going to look at 3 steps that you can take that will help you become more aware of your financial situation. By breaking the management of your finances down into these 3 steps, you can become more aware of your money illness and develop a cure. So let's begin with step 1 in the process of increasing your overall money wellness. And step 1 is to look at where you are today with your money. We all grew up being influenced by others about the concept of making, saving, and spending money. Whether we realize it or not, the beliefs and the values of others impact us as much as or even more than religion, sex, and culture. So let's take a few moments to further explore the beliefs around money in our quest for money wellness. So I want you just to take a look at slide number 11 there. Let's explore a few beliefs around money that people typically hold that impact on their financial situation, whether that's good or bad. Now, some examples might be, maybe you heard from your authority figures in your life or the culture, that money doesn't grow on trees, or that you have to work really hard to make money. Or possibly even some beliefs about that money is the root of all evil, and that people that have money are selfish. Or when people make a lot of money, it really changes them. So you might have other beliefs around that. But also we want to explore what contributes the most to the formation of our beliefs around money. Whether it's parents, maybe your marriage partnership or your partners, hardships or anything. Those might be different experiences that you've had with money. And certainly we know that cultural influences are big too. But also our media plays a huge role in this, especially with the buy now and pay later. Think about some of these issues and how this is really influencing your life. We can all agree that there are many beliefs, both good and bad, and that these have been affected in our current and our future financial status because of our past experiences. As with many things, once we become aware of our perspectives, we can then determine how they are serving us or not, and then we can make necessary changes. We can do more of what is benefiting us, and then we can break free from what is not. So let's further explore our money health. Now, I'd like you to take out worksheet number 1, which has a title of Earnings and Expenses. So we all have probably gone to the doctor for physicals at some point in time in our lives, right? And a physical is a medical examination conducted to determine a person's physical health. So examinations of any kind are great because they offer awareness of our current conditions. This is exactly where we're going to start managing our money in the same way. The first step to better money wellness is to conduct a physical of your current finances in order to gain a better understanding of how your money comes in and how it goes out. To have money wellness means that you must be aware of your current financial situation. 2 fundamental pieces of information are how much you make and how much you spend. So tracking your money is like tracking calories. Being aware of what you eat and what you expend will tell you whether you are gaining or losing weight, right? So the same is true for money. By tracking the amount of money you're earning compared to what you're spending, you know immediately how healthy your financial situation is. And I know this may sound simple, but most people have absolutely no idea what they are actually spending their money on. They don't really think about money, they just spend on sodas or on an electronic gadget or whatever that is, that kind of mindless spending, especially if there's not actually a paper transaction, but we're putting them on debit cards. So By tracking the amount of money that you're earning compared to what you're spending, you know immediately how healthy your financial situation is. Let's face it, we can all spend money more quickly than it takes to make it. So again, now that you've got worksheet number 1 pulled out, and I'd like you also to have access to a calculator to use during this activity. This is worksheet number 1, which is earnings and expenses. Just pause the recording and take about 5 minutes to complete that worksheet. And you'll see that money wellness begins by understanding your current situation, and this includes how much you make and how much you spend. So just work quickly for 5 minutes filling in the information so that we can take a look at the bills and the credit card statements to determine more accurate numbers. And if you need to take a longer period of time to do this, that's fine too. But again, this is just to give you a little bit of snapshot on your monthly net income, your monthly expenses, transportation costs, and food and clothing, things along in that line. And then you'll notice there's also a second sheet on this. And so there's more categories like healthcare, family expenditures, leisure and recreation, and just other expenses. So fill that out as quickly as you can, and then just come on back to the recording as soon as you're done with that. Just notice now, by subtracting monthly expenses from your monthly earnings, you can get a quick idea of what your monthly flow is. And now if your earnings are greater than your expenses, then you have extra money that can be put into a savings account or used to pay down a debt, either of which will improve your financial situation. And if your expenses are greater than your earnings, then the worksheet can help you see what may be causing your money shortage and where you need to cut back on expenses. So just take a quick mental check for yourself of what did you notice from doing this exercise? Did it make you feel uncomfortable? Do you know how much that you've been spending, or maybe that your spouse or your partner is spending? Because that becomes the collective pot as well, right? And then also, how did you feel to get more clarity around your money flow? Do you feel like you're in control or out of control? Hopefully it made you feel a little more empowered by doing this exercise, because you literally just increased your awareness. Here's the main reason why people can't ever seem to improve their financial situation. Because most people don't live below their means. Again, most people do not live below their means. Instead, people have a tendency to spend every dollar they make and then some. The secret to getting into a better financial place is to pretend that you make less than you actually do. So in other words, you always spend less than what you actually make. It can seem impossible to make do with less, but by filling out a worksheet and taking a snapshot of what is happening with your money, you can make the necessary adjustments before reaching a financial crisis. So the key is to combat mindless spending by becoming aware of how your money is actually being spent. And again, saving money maybe isn't as easy for some of us, but it means that you have to prioritize future wants and needs against today's wants and needs. So this brings us to step number 2 in our money wellness process. So step 2 is to determine where you want to be with your money in the future. So this is a great question to ask yourself. How would you like your money to be working for you tomorrow? What financial goals would you like to identify and reach? Another reason people find themselves in a financial predicament is that they don't plan for the future and put money away for important purchases. People often think about drawing up a budget and then sticking to it, and it means that they'll have to deprive themselves of current pleasures. So, typically, people avoid it altogether. These people wrongly think that living on a budget and saving for important future purchases means having to scrimp, sacrifice, and to do without, which is just wrong thinking. Being on a budget isn't about buying shoddy goods or depriving yourself of fun just because you're putting away every penny that you make. Instead, a budget is about making the most of every dollar that you are earning so that you can create the life that you really want. So, as you look at slide number 14, you'll see that there are some short-term, medium-term, and also long-term financial goals. So I want you just to start thinking about that. Instead of a budget, financial goals really are about making the most of every dollar that you are earning so that you can create the life that you really want. So let's take a moment to think about those important future purchases that you want to make. So I'd like you to pull out worksheet number 2, which has a title of Daydreams and Dollar Signs. In looking at this worksheet, number 1 is just to take a few minutes to brainstorm what might be some of your future financial goals. Think about the possible long-term, medium-term, and short-term goals. These financial goals might include, like for an example, a college education, or maybe you're purchasing a new home or wanting to, or maybe you want to purchase a new car, or some traveling or saving for retirement accounts, or even just paying down some debt. So think about your financial goals from those 3 different perspectives. The long-term goals are the financial goals that you plan to achieve in the next 5 to 20 years. So these will likely be the big purchase items. You probably will have only a couple of these type of goals. And then the medium-term goals are the financial goals that you'd like to achieve in the next 5 years. And it's likely that you will come up with a few more of these type of goals than the long-term goals. And then those short-term goals, which are the financial goals that you want to achieve in the next 12 months. You will probably have many more short-term goals than either of the other 2. Still, we must make sure that these short-term goals, when looked at collectively, that they're manageable. So just pause your recording for a few moments and then just fill that section out. Now that you have brainstormed a decent list of some of your financial goals, it's important to test these goals to determine which ones are the most important to you. So I'd like you to pare down your list to 3 to 5 goals that really matter the most to you. These are the goals that you will do whatever it takes to achieve. And once you determine this list of goals and you prioritize these, I'd like you to list them in that space on number 2 on this worksheet, which just tells you to pare down your list of brainstormed financial goals to those 3 to 5 goals that really matter most to you. And you'll see that there are the 5 goals listed. So take a few moments and pause your recording to do this. And one last comment to think about as you review some of your priorities is just to remember that even if you do nothing towards reaching your future financial goals, remember that that's still a choice that you are making about your future. Now, we all know that if we budget our money and we spend it wisely, that we can realistically and comfortably lower our daily expenses, and therefore we can increase our savings. Increasing our savings can fuel a sense of accomplishment and encourage us to reach our most important financial goals. But if this is the case, then why do we have a habit of just letting things slide? What gets in the way of us continuing to improve our money wellness? Boy, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Because I know we all set out to accomplish these goals and we get really excited about achieving them, but then they just seem to wax and wane, doesn't it? Well, this brings us to step number 3 in our money wellness process. So step number 3 is determining exactly what gets in the way of us reaching that state of the financial well-being that we really want. So money is actually a very simple thing. We are the ones that make it more complicated than it needs to be. Without our realizing it, we subconsciously connect specific behaviors and emotion-driven habits to our spending. This is a critical realization because no matter how detailed a budget that we put in place to help us with our financial situation, it has a very good chance of failing if we don't recognize the way that we think about money and the values that we attach to spending money. We touched earlier on how others' beliefs around money may have influenced us, certainly in our past. So let's further explore our money values. I'd like you to look at slide number 15, which is just that shopping cart and also with the piggy bank. So as you're taking a look at that, what is money for anyway? This question alone can reveal a great deal about our relationship with money. We must realize that there is a definite connection between how we feel and how we spend. Our emotions can easily have us spending more than we earn. So managing money isn't just about knowing what you make and spend or identifying your future financial goals. It's also about having clarity around our ongoing relationship with money. Spending can be driven by habits and fueled by our emotions, and this is a huge awareness. So let's take a moment and explore this important connection. So I'd like you to pull out worksheet number 3, which has a title of Money Values, and just go ahead and answer the following questions to get a better sense of the values that you may have around money, but most importantly, also pay attention to the emotions that are possibly driving these values. And remember that there are no right or wrong responses to any of these questions. So pause the recording and just take a few moments to fill that out. And then when you come back to the recording, I want you just to ask yourself some of these questions. How easy or difficult was it to answer those worksheet questions? And again, what emotions did these questions invoke in you? What common values do we often attach to money? And also, how have these values formed your current financial situation? So some of the key points really to focus on, and this is huge. According to the Wall Street Journal, nearly 70% of consumers live paycheck to paycheck. That's a huge statistic. Nearly 70% of consumers live paycheck to paycheck. And a Gallup study revealed that 68% of respondents could not cover a $5,000 cash emergency without having to go into debt for it. Fewer than 50% of respondents between the ages of 30 and 50 have even $10,000 saved for their retirements. And as these startling statistics point out, many of us have the emotional impulse to have fun and spend our money now rather than to think about the consequences in the future of this behavior. Essentially, the more aware you are of what's driving your spending today, the easier it will be to take charge of your personal finances and improve your money wellness and a secure future. You now have a little bit more information and awareness about yourself and your personal financial situation. So let's raise some important final thoughts about how to improve your money wellness. If you have a better understanding of your expenses in relation to your earnings, this will help you see whether you're living within your means and where things can be improved. You recognize the importance of setting financial goals and committing to them, determining which goals are your most important and creating a plan to reach them. You have an increased awareness around how emotions can drive money spending behaviors. So now, think of what you have learned as just the beginning point of obtaining better money wellness. Now, if you look at slide number 16, you see the little piggy bank with a Band-Aid on it. If your financial situation is not where you want it to be, it will take some time for you to get fully on track to obtain your goals. But it's important to start now, start somewhere, than to not start at all because you feel behind or you get discouraged. I'm going to share 3 perspectives that can help you get where you want to get to sooner. So I'd like you to take out worksheet number 4 right now. And worksheet number 4 has a title of Moving Forward. Now you might want to just take some notes on this worksheet. And when you're ready, I want you to just think about these 3 different perspectives. As you turn to slide number 17, I want you, number 1, to recognize what you can and what you can't control. Some expenses are controllable, others not so much. A mortgage or a car payment is going to hit every month whether you're ready for it or not, right? But other expenses like the iced mocha drink or those new shoes are very much within your control and therefore easier to change if you recognize your triggers and also remember your goals. So the second thing to getting where you want to be is to plan for the unexpected. Because another culprit to our best financial plans are those unexpected expenses that just pop up just when we feel like we are getting going and we're getting on track. The car might break down, maybe the water heater goes out, we get a note maybe from the IRS that we owe them a big chunk of change, whatever those little unexpected things might be. And even though we don't like it, the fact is that these type of expenses are bound to show up sooner or later. Therefore, we need to plan for these expenses ahead of time by setting aside a little each month so that the money is there when we need it. Now, the third thing is stick with it. Don't give up. Money can be volatile, and when we hit bumps in the road, we might be tempted to give up. So do your best to stick with your money wellness plan and just keep working on it. And if you do hit a bump in the road, it doesn't mean that you have failed or that you lack discipline. It just means that you may have to make some necessary adjustments so it continues to work going forward. And remember this, if you have a bad day, if you hit those bumps in the road, the next day, just get right back on track. Don't just throw everything out. The proverbial don't throw out the baby with the bathwater here. Just get right back on track. As you look at this image of the piggy bank at the bottom of your worksheet now, just write on top of it one thing that you learned from this training that you will make a commitment to applying in your life. So take a moment or two to identify and write down what you've learned and what you are willing to apply. Just remember a few final points here. It's also important to remind yourself from time to time that we live in a consumer society. The more you consume, the more you have to work to pay for it. So, consume less to improve your overall money wellness. Be mindful of TV commercials. Be mindful of all the glaring ads in magazines, or even walking by stores, or even just paying attention. Maybe you're walking by somebody on the street and you notice something that they have, and maybe it's that fleeting emotional thought of, oh, I love that, I really want that, or I want that pair of shoes, or whatever that is. And finally, don't forget that this is your money and it's your life that we're talking about here. It may not feel like it, but you are in charge of it all. And when you start to make some just small changes in your life, you will be amazed at how much more empowered you feel in your life. Let's look at the key points and just review, which is on slide number 18. Take charge of your money by growing your awareness around how much you make and you spend. Always spend less than what you make. Prioritize future wants and needs against today's wants and needs. It's always a choice to handle money prudently or not. So recognize those choices that lead to a richer, fuller, and worry-free life. We oftentimes add in one other little home play exercise for you, so you have one more that you can do at your leisure, and it's called tracking your spending. There are just 5 steps to this, and you can really tune in and increase your awareness of how you're spending your money just by commit to tracking your spending for 2 weeks. So to do this, just follow these 5 steps. Keep receipts for all of your purchases during the 2 weeks. And even if you don't have a receipt, just keep a list of your expenses on a pad of paper or in a small notebook that maybe you carry with you. Record every purchase that you make, especially the small ones. And at the end of 2 weeks, add up how much you have spent. And the 4th thing is that you can then get a monthly spending estimate by taking the total amount recorded and multiplying it by 2.16. And after coming up with a monthly estimate total, analyze where your money is going. Tracking your spending will help demystify money. Your awareness of your money habit is also sharpened, which will allow you to make changes to improve your financial situation. And as a final note, when you track your spending, don't judge yourself. This is just a little home play assignment and is meant to help describe your money habits, because when you have increased awareness about your habits, then you know how you can change them. But just for now, remember, this goal is only for 2 weeks, and it's just to get a snapshot of what's really going on with how you're spending your money. So that's it for this module. And Jerry and I want to thank you for your participation in this money wellness module. And remember how to have a healthy perspective on earning, saving, and spending your money is in your hands. We also just want to point out our website and some of our other transformational 28-day soul coaching programs, which you can find at www.lightenupandthrive.com. And those 28-day soul coaching programs are Let Your Soul Shine and Letting Go into the Flow. Whether you are doing any of these programs or any of our home study series, we really want to thank you for joining us. And as Jerry and I always just want to remind you, is just keep on thriving. Thanks again for your participation.